Okay, friends, Ian Andrews here with LakewoodAlive. We're thrilled you're joining us tonight. Thanks for taking some time out of your schedule to visit with us. We're really pleased to continue to bring the Knowing Your Home series to you, albeit virtually. The show must go on, as they say, right? So I'm very pleased to introduce to you the woman behind the Knowing Your Home series, our Housing and Internal Operations Director, Alison Urbanek. Alison, go ahead and take it away.
Great. Thank you so much, Ian. I just want to make sure you all can hear me. If you cannot, please feel free to chat and let everyone know that you can't hear me. But my name is Alison Urbanek. I'm the Housing and Internal Operations Director at LakewoodAlive. Thank you so much for joining us this evening, and I'm so excited to be able to present Knowing Your Home Solar 101. Tonight we have David Zelasko from Third Sun Solar, and he will be doing a presentation tonight. We will be taking questions throughout the presentation. You will see that there is a chat thought bubble on the right side of your screen. I think it's about 3 dots down. If you hit that, it should open up a chat box, and that will be the place that you enter in your question. Type it out, and then it'll come to me. And then I will let David know that there are questions, and we'll ask them throughout the presentation. Again, David will be sending out some information where you can sign up if you'd like to hear some more information from him. So we'll get that out to you. So we'll be sending it out early in this conversation as well as at the end of the conversation. We are also recording this presentation, and it will go out and over the next couple of days. You'll see it on Facebook as well as on our website. So at this point, I am going to turn it over to David from Third Sun Solar.
Thanks, Allison. My name is David Zelasko. I'm a solar consultant with Third Sun Solar, and I'm happy to work with LakewoodAlive. They've been doing great work and events over the years, and it's our second time working with them on the solar one-on-one. So very grateful and happy to be here. So today I'm going to talk about solar and how it works primarily on the residential side. So I'll give a brief intro to who we are and how we operate at Third Sun, how solar works, also how battery storage works, why people go solar, and our easy steps to going through the process and finding out if you're a good fit for solar. And then happy to do, like Allison said, if you have questions during that time, please ask them, and then we can also do a Q&A at the end. So again, we're Third Sun Solar. We are headquartered out of Athens, Ohio, but have teams up here in Northeast Ohio as well. And what sets us apart is we're a construction company first. So this is our 20th year in the industry in Ohio, doing residential, commercial, municipal, nonprofits, basically anyone who owns a property and building and pays an electric bill, we can work with them. And so this is our 20th year. We are a certified B Corp, woman-owned business that started out in Southeast Ohio. And over the years, we kind of snowballed into over 1,000 clean energy installs throughout the country, with majority of them in the state of Ohio. And as I said, we're a construction company first. We are licensed electrical and general contractors. So one thing that has kept our reputation strong is the quality of our construction. And we do everything in-house. So we have in-house installers and licensed electricians on staff. We are also a B Corporation. And for those who aren't familiar with B Corps, think companies like Patagonia, Cliff Bar, Ben & Jerry's. They're companies that are using business as a force of good. So people and planet before profit. So we've been a B Corp for several years, and we get evaluated and audited on how we, as a company, treat the environment, treat our employees, and how we treat our community. And so based on all those factors, allows us to have this B Corp status and really show customers what we're all about and what our mission and values are. So on the residential side of solar, this is a local example here in the Birdtown neighborhood of Lakewood. Roof-mounted solar on a Lakewood house. Lakewood is great for solar. A lot of the residential streets run north and south, and so most homes are facing north, south, east, or west, and have a lot of good opportunity for solar. We also do ground mount systems, so maybe your home isn't a good fit, and you have a lot of land. We can put them on the ground as well. We also do work with universities, Penn State Fieldhouse. At one point, this was the largest system in the roof mount system in the state, and probably about 10 years old. We also work with St. Ignatius. They use this system to do for their science departments. They kind of use solar as a teaching tool. And then also the animal shelter in Cuyahoga County. So we can do solar at pretty much at any scale, but again, today I'm going to talk mostly about the residential side. So I'm going to briefly go over how solar works, and it's primarily going to be focused on grid-tied systems. But first, this is a very common question that we get. I know we're in Northeast Ohio, so how much sun do we get? It's a very common question. And so this is a map that you're looking at called an irradiance map, and it shows the amount of sunlight that we get throughout the country. And you can see that, Ohio, Northeast Ohio, the green, kind of around average. And so we compare this graph always to Germany. A few years ago, Germany had the most solar installed out of any country throughout the whole world. And in Germany, they get about 20% less sunlight than we do here in Northeast Ohio. So while we may have some overcast winters, solar still works, and I can typically get 50 to 90% of someone's energy offset throughout the year on the residential side in our area. Brief history of solar. It's not a new technology. You may be hearing more and more about it today because it's becoming more mainstream and it's becoming more affordable for people. But photovoltaic is what we use as the type of cell that is in panels. Albert Einstein described the photovoltaic effect in the early 20th century. Thomas Edison was a proponent, and the first solar cells were developed at Bell Labs in 1954. So this is a U.S. invention, and it is the same technology, photovoltaic solar cell, that we use today. And so solar is growing fast. Once solar panels and the technology became commercially available, it took about 40 years to have 1 million installations. And now, less than 3 years later, I believe it was early 2019, we hit 2 million after that. So it took less than 3 years to get another million. So it's growing very quickly and definitely having positive impacts throughout our country. So this is a good example here of how grid-tied solar works. So on the residential side, 99% of the time we do solar installation is grid-tied solar. So grid-tied is different from off-grid. So we have taken small cabins, small summer homes off the grid where they don't have a lot of electricity loads. That is possible. That's very popular in solar in the early days. But now Gridtied is the primary focus of solar and our customers. And how this works is you're still connected to the grid. You have panels on your home, on your roof, and the sun DC, direct current, is collected by those panels. It can be direct sunlight, it can be daylight, and that energy is going through a device called an inverter. And that inverter is basically where all the magic happens, and it's converting from DC to AC, alternating current, which we use in our home and in the grid. And that energy is conditioned so that your loads in your house, say your washer, your dryer, refrigerator, your air conditioner, that is going to prefer the solar before you take any grid power. So the solar is being used at the time and the point of consumption. If you have too much solar, it can go back into the grid and go back through your bi-directional meter that will work with the utility to install. So if there's more solar than the house needs at that moment, it'll go back through the meter, and the utility will calculate that and say, okay, they sent us this energy. They'll deduct it from their bill, and if you develop and send them more energy than you use or took from them, you can also get a credit on your electric bill. Now, this varies by utility company. So when we work with a customer and they want an estimate, we request electric bills so that we can see how much energy they use and also what type of utility company they're on, what type of tariff, and what their rate structures are like. So that is the process. It's very simple. All we need is an electric bill to get a custom quote for a home. And so this is the goal. This is an actual bill and usage history of our customer in the central Ohio area. This is a bill from AEP. And so you can see when the sun is higher in the sky, the days are longer, there's less overcast, this home is producing a lot of electricity. So from May through October, they were actually sending more power back to the grid than they were taking. And so what happens in that scenario, the utility company, First Energy and Illuminating Company do this as well, they will give you a credit for that excess. Now that credit is typically about a third of what the retail rate of what you pay for electricity, but nonetheless it's a credit that can roll over and it can collect a balance each month. So these people here didn't have to pay for energy all summer, and it even trickling into the winter months. So this is a good example and something to expect, but not everybody can see these results. It's basically, solar is not one size fits all. So there's a lot of variables to your property and how much energy you use. So that was solar, strictly grid-tied solar with no batteries. And so battery technology is something that is growing on the grid-tied side. So we can add battery storage to a system, to an existing system, or we can install it in conjunction with a new installation. And so there's a lot of different batteries out there. We carry a few different brands, but what we think is the best value and the best technology currently out there is the Tesla Powerwall 2. So as I was mentioning before, you send that excess power back into the grid. When you have a battery present, you can send that power to the battery, that excess solar to a battery, and that battery can discharge the solar throughout the day when you need it, or it can also act as a battery backup system, like a backup generator. So with a grid-tied system, if the power goes out, your solar, per National Electric Code, has to disconnect. When you have a battery present, now the battery allows the solar to charge that battery in the event of a power outage, and it can feed back into some critical loads that you're looking to offset. And so this is a good example layout here. The one on the left would be focusing on a whole house backup. So we would tie in multiple Tesla Powerwalls into your main panel here, and it would be able to feed those loads when the battery is full. On the right side, this is more common, where we're doing critical load panels. So we will talk with a customer, see if a battery is a good fit for them, and then ask them what do they want backed up. So a lot of people want some lights, some outlets, refrigerator, freezer, maybe a well pump or a furnace fan. We can put those into the critical loads panel and then have the battery feed those. So this is very much a newer technology. We are certified to install Tesla Powerwalls. You can only have this installed by a certified installer, and we've been doing them since last fall, and probably have installed about 20 or 30 throughout the state so far. And this will be an example of a battery system. This is our owner, Jeff Greenfield, and he's been living off grid and had various batteries for over 20 years. And Tesla is the new technology, allows him to upgrade and to get more features out of it. And so I'll show you what you can expect from this. Here you'll see a screenshot of the Powerwall app. And so you can think of this as some typical usage here. So everything in the blue is what the home used throughout the day. And so you can see here some spikes. That could be the refrigerator cycle or the heating system turning on. And then as daybreak comes, the people in the home are waking up, they're using more electricity, and you can see a spike here. And then using electricity throughout the day, and then some more baseload power and more spikes throughout the evening, lights and different appliances and whatnot. Now here is the solar production. So flatlining until about 7, 8 a.m. And you can see the production starts to ramp up throughout the day, and it peaks at solar noon. And then as the sun starts to set, you can see the production coming down. These little drops in here are just maybe clouds passed for a few seconds or a few minutes or so. And so we'll show you and set it up that we can monitor your system. Now here in the green, this is all the Powerwall. So everything below this line is energy going to the Powerwall. And so the solar is being produced, it's covering some of these loads, and the excess is going to fill up the Powerwall. And then when the Powerwall is needed, it's being discharged on whatever load that they need. And it's pretty amazing that the sun's down, no more production, but after 8 p.m., you see this house is using energy, and the battery is fueling that energy. And then lastly, we can take a look at what is coming from the grid. So early morning, in the middle of the night, this energy that's being used is coming from the grid. And that morning before the solar starts to produce is all coming from the grid until that sun peaks and we're able to produce our own energy. And everything below this line is power that is going to the grid. So after, let's say, 10 a.m., this house did not take any energy from the grid based on its solar and the battery being present. Pretty cool technology, and it's becoming much, much more of a game changer in the space. And again, this is just having it all combined here, and it'll be able to show you how full your battery is, and keep you aware all from a smartphone app. So that is how solar works. That's how battery technology works. And again, it's not one size fits all, so we can work with people on their specific energy needs, budgets, different types of properties, and also different motivations. So why do people go solar? There's a lot of reasons, and it hits all demographics, all ideologies. But one of the main reasons, and this is a big reason why Third Sun started in business, this is why I got into the industry about 6 years ago, that it lowers your carbon footprint. And you are adding clean energy to the property and producing clean energy at the point of consumption. So when you think of fossil fuels, the fuel for that and that type of electric generation is coming from the ground, whether it's gas or coal. That fuel is dirty. It's causing pollution, air pollution, water pollution, and it's emitting a lot of greenhouse gases. So a third of the greenhouse gases that are causing climate change are coming from the energy sector. And so if we can add more renewables, more clean energy like solar, that is going to have a positive impact on our environment and positive impact in our local areas with clean air as well. Also, there may be people out there that are listening and watching that have electric vehicles. And about another 30% of our greenhouse gas emissions comes from the transportation sector. So being able to power electric vehicles with renewables, especially solar, if you're charging your car at home, is a great way to lower your carbon footprint and, again, increase cleaner air for everybody. So another reason is saving on your electric bill. I showed you an example of that electric bill of someone who's, having no bill throughout the summer. And usually a lot of suburban homes, AC is air conditioning is their biggest load. And so that tends to increase the cost of our electricity. Anytime you can own that power and produce it yourself, you are reducing your bill and you're saving money. Solar can also increase property value. And basically, anytime you can lower the utility bills for the next homeowner, next buyer, whether that's energy efficient windows, energy efficient appliances, that new buyer is going to have a lower electric bill, a lower fixed cost to utilities, and that could increase your property value. And so when we say own your power, basically right now we are connected to the grid, and the grid, despite the polluting factors of its generation, provides a good service and allows us to keep our lights on, work, it helps education. But we are essentially renting that power and we are paying whatever the utility tells us we have to pay. And so solar allows you to own your power because you're producing it, you're controlling it, you're creating it right at the point of consumption. So that puts a hedge against any future inflation rates that we'll see down the road as we modernize our grid. And Ohio is moving towards a lot of natural gas plants. And unfortunately, that cost usually comes back to the ratepayer to pay. So as our price of electricity increases, then we will, with solar, you can start developing savings and taking control of that. Another reason for going solar is there's federal tax incentives. So on the residential side, there is currently a 26% federal tax credit. And so that is scheduled to ramp down. If you install your system by the end of this year, it's 26%. But if you're installed next year, we're looking at it's a tax credit around 22%, so decreasing by 4%. And then in 2022, the tax credit for homeowners completely disappears. So we're seeing a big uptick in increase in people inquiring, getting estimates, and installing because of this tax savings that you can get. Now, we are solar experts. We can answer a lot of technical questions for you, but we can't do your taxes. So when you work with me, I'll be able to give you an estimate, show you what the total cost is. 26% of that is potential tax credit. I always recommend take it to your tax accountant and see how that credit plays into your specific financials, because again, everybody's different. Before I move on, Alison, is there any questions out there that they'd like to address?
Sure. So I think these might get answered in the future. So if we are going to cover those, just feel free, we can hold those. So a question is from Christine, how long generally does it take for a system to pay for itself?
Yeah, so that's a good question. And so that varies. And that varies based on your direction of your roof, how much solar access you have. So that does lead me to here. But payback, we typically look at, on a residential side, could be anywhere from 10 to 15 years. And that the variables that are electricity rates, the amount of energy you use, and also the site and how much solar that you get. So when thinking of a home that's good for solar, we are in the northern hemisphere, and so a 10-panel system is going to produce the best facing south, because the sun is tracking through the south. So Lakewood, Cuyahoga County has a lot of good south-facing roofs, but there's also some that face east and west. And so we will take a look at the direction of the roof, pick out which is the best solar access point, take a look at the pitch of the roof as well, and give you a production estimate based off 30 years of climate data. So if you're having the same system facing south with no shade versus a system facing west with no shade, that southern system is going to pay for itself faster because it's going to produce more and have more access to the sun throughout the year. Now, when we look at payback, 10 to 15 years, well, the good thing about solar, it is very maintenance free. And so solar has very minimal moving parts, and they have warranties for 25 years. Some panels have 30-year warranties. And so panel manufacturers will say, okay, by year 25, that panel will still produce about 80% of its capacity. If it drops below that, then there could be a technical issue, and that is replaceable. So say you have a 12-year payback. Well, you have 12-year payback. The rest of the life of that system is literally free energy. And there's systems out there that are 30, 40 plus years old that are still operating in the field. So when we give analysis, we provide a 30-year lifetime savings and lifetime production based on that trajectory. So
great. Now, kind of adding on.
Yep.
Sorry about that. I have a couple more questions for you. One is, how is the fatigue pattern of the Tesla battery system? And that's a question from Sean.
What is the fatigue patterns? Is that what he said?
Yes.
So
I can ask if you need clarification, just let us know, and I can.
Yeah, I wonder if he means discharge level. And so fatigue or discharge is how low does the battery drop before it turns off and before it goes to sleep. And so this is a good question, and it's a good reason why the Powerwall is advanced technology. Old lead acid batteries had a discharge level maybe around 50% of their capacity. So once they were 50% full or 50% empty, then they would turn off and you wouldn't be able to use it until you charge more. The Tesla Powerwall discharge level is around 10%. And so they also have a 10-year warranty that says in year 10, that battery will still have about a 70% capacity.
Great. Thank you. And then another question that I have is there a tax credit for rental property?
So that if the owner, the solar would have to go through the owner. If you're renting a home and you want to put solar on that, I believe it would have to be with the owner of that property. But if an owner of a multifamily or a rental home wants to put solar, I believe they can take the credit. Again, tax experts will be able to answer this better because I think there are some stipulations based on primary residence and investment properties. But we've done a building, a multifamily building, a few of them actually in Lakewood, one near the Gold Coast and another 4 apartment dwelling that they were able to take into those incentives.
Great. And then lastly, is there an estimated price range for solar installation in northeastern Ohio?
Yep, great question. And again, I've said this a lot. Solar's not necessarily one size fits all, but a good average, you can see anywhere between $20,000 and $30,000 before the federal tax credit, and that can vary. We have systems that for residential could be $10,000, they can be $80,000. So it really depends on what that person's looking for. When you're looking at Cuyahoga County and the more of the suburban or urban areas, you're definitely closer to around that $20,000, $25,000 before the tax credit.
All right. Sorry about this. You're going to hear my dogs barking. I'm real sorry. But basically, those are the questions that I have for now. and I think we can move forward.
Great. So really next steps is just highlighting a piece of our process. And again, it's pretty easy. Due to the coronavirus right now, we are doing everything remotely. And so we have technology that allows us to utilize satellite and drone imagery, and we can measure a roof very accurately and see how many panels that we can fit. But before that, we do just a basic consultation. And so happy to talk to people, answer any more questions, and look at your specific home, and also look at your energy usage. So this is where the electric bill comes in, and we can say and take a look, okay, last 12 months, each month you use this much energy. And so we would use that information and then couple it with what we estimate the production to be, to give you a good idea of the system and what it would look like, and cost of install, ROI, all those figures you're looking for. And then we handle everything in terms of permitting and installation. We work with your utility company, whether that's interconnection with the illuminating company, Cleveland Public Power. We handle all that work and do our own installations as well.
So David, before we move on, is there any cost to quotes or consultations?
No, there's not. So it's very educational. We don't put a hard sell on anybody, and as long as we have an electric bill, we can work with you and answer your questions and size it up for your specific property.
Great, thank you. And then another question we have is, do you bid Solar United Neighbor Co-op bids?
Yeah, so we have bid those, and I think Solar United Neighbors has been in Ohio for about 4 years now. They're a nonprofit for other people who don't know. They're a nonprofit out of Washington, D.C. that uses solarized programs or community bulk purchasing programs to get solar. And so we were chosen out of the first 3 or 4 in the state, in Lorain County, Cuyahoga County twice, and then Delaware, and they're still actively going on. So we have bid on those and participated.
Great, thank you very much. We have a couple more questions. Do you want me to hold those, or do you want me to ask them?
No, this is we're basically at the end, so I'm open for questions now.
Okay, great. So I have a question from Sean asking, how reasonable of an estimate is Google's Project Sunroof for judging how good your roof is for your solar?
That's a great question. It's not terrible, it's not great. It's primarily Google satellite imagery. It's hard to tell when it was up to date. And so they may do a good job if you have a house that has no trees, and if you want to know if your southwest facing roof is a good candidate for solar, it could show that irradiance for that area. I would be cautious of any economics that they provide. Usually those are based off of national averages in terms of electricity and maybe national incentives that maybe we don't necessarily, or incentives that other states have that we may not necessarily get. So, working with an expert that has data from previous systems and knowing your specific utility is always going to be the best route.
Great, thank you. And then if you could talk a little bit about installation and your roof. So if you could give us a little guidance on, when should you install? Should you get a brand new roof then install, or what's the lifespan of a roof and your solar panels together?
Yeah, great question. And so before I mentioned the warranties on the panels lasting 25 years, well, if you need a new roof right now, there's no point in putting a piece of equipment on a roof that has 1 or 2 years of life left. And so during our consultation process, we always ask the age of the roof. And then when we get on site, we also look at quality of that roof. So, we typically like to see at least 10 to 15 years of life left, but knowing that when it comes time to replace your shingles or your roof, that we'll need to remove the panels, and you replace your shingles, and then we can put the same equipment back on. So if the roof's in bad condition and we say, hey, we should probably replace this first, we're trying to avoid that extra work down the road, that extra cost that customer may incur. And then if it's just not safe to be on there, we won't even get a permit for it probably. So that's a good question. That's a good factor to look at. Shingle roofs, when you're looking asphalt shingles, the biggest thing that degrades your shingles is sunlight and heat. And so when we're putting solar on there, we are putting these panels and shading essentially the hottest part, the sunniest part of your roof. So it can extend some life of your shingles, but there's really no hard data how long it is. So if you need a new roof, you've been thinking about needing a new roof, if it's 20 years old roof, I would highly advise doing that before installing solar.
Great. And then are you able to install solar panels on any style of roof? So whether that's a metal roof or a slate roof, are there any ones that aren't really good for solar panels?
Yeah, good question. We can do, there's equipment out there and racking systems for any roof. We're mostly doing a lot of shingle and metal roofs, both ribbed and standing seam roofs, and also flat rubber membrane, and you can do slate as well. And so what is happening when we're attaching these panels to the roof? We are drilling through your shingles, through your metal roof, we're moving tiles or whatnot, and we are making holes into your roof, into the rafters of your roof. So we're making multiple penetrations to the roof to secure these panels and make sure that they don't go anywhere for decades, right? Again, a 25-year warranty, you want to make sure it's constructed properly. And with all those multiple penetrations, putting a lot of holes in your roof, making sure it's done correctly so that there's no leaks occurring. A lot of the equipment out there is very tried and true, and we make sure that we have equipment and extra precautions to make sure that doesn't occur. So that could happen on any type of roof. When you're looking at a metal roof, there are metal roofs called standing seam that have a more pronounced seam that we can actually just clamp right on. And so we don't have to make any penetrations into that. It just clamps right onto the seam. And then rubber membrane roofs, there's, sometimes you'll see a flat roof like that in the garage or so, or for on the commercial side, non-residential, larger buildings, flat roofs, have a tar membrane or a rubber membrane roof. We do a ballasted system that the panels sit on, and again, not making any penetration. So your roof type matters, but there's a solution for almost all of them.
That's great. Thank you. I just want to remind folks we are taking questions. So if you have any additional questions, please feel free to send those along. They're great questions. We're getting a lot of good information here. So thanks again for sending those along. David, I do have a question for you. What's the start to finish process? Like the length of time from when you come out and you evaluate my roof to when I can get those solar panels installed, and how long does the installation process take?
Yeah, so typically, we can get estimates out pretty quickly, and then from once people start and agree to move forward with the project, historically, we've been anywhere from 60 to 90 days between final agreement to installation. And this comes with capacity and demand. We typically do about 4 systems a week throughout the state, whether that's residential or commercial. And so there is high demand for us. And then right now, depending on your roof or residential, it could be 2 to 4 days is usually what we book for a crew to be on site, depending on system size. Sometimes we can do that faster. But yeah, the actual installation is less than a week long. But due to the current situation and the coronavirus, we technically could be out there legally installing, but once the governor put a stay-at-home order, we were concerned about our employees and our customers, and so we've actually put our installations on hold. So we haven't been installing for the last month during the situation, and hopefully we're playing it by ear. We're taking the advice of the health department, hopefully being back installing sometime in May.
Great, thank you. So I have another question from Sean. Are there thoughts on solar shingles like the Tesla solar roof? How long do you think until the technology is ready for widespread adoption?
Yeah, it's a good question. Tesla is definitely an innovator in the space. Over our long history and the history of solar, there's been a lot of different companies coming out with shingles. Dow Chemical worked on shingles for 10 to 15 years and kind of scrapped the project. So it's hard to tell. It's hard to tell what that'll come about, and what we scratch our head about is how does a shingle protect your roof from heat, the elements, water, and also produce electricity? What type of maintenance is that going to incur? What is the cost? What is the power production for that cost? So a lot of those things are very new and are not really in their favor, whereas solar panels is a very tried and true technology, and it's becoming more affordable and economical, and why you're seeing more of it. So it's something that we're keeping our eye on, but not necessarily holding our breath for anytime soon.
Great, thank you. Just a reminder, if you do want to submit a question, if you could use the chat box to do so. It's the thought bubble with the question mark in it. You just type your answer in there and then hit send, and then I will get that. So David, for right now, we don't have any additional questions. I'm not sure if there's other things that you would like to explain, maybe how people can get a hold of you and ways to set up those assessments of their properties.
Yeah, so I don't have any more to share. Like I've been saying, I'm happy to go and speak to specific homeowners and see if solar is a good fit and give it an honest evaluation. But website on here, thirdsunsolar.com/David Zelasko. You can go in there, fill out your information, and I'll be able to reach out to you and have an electric bill ready, and we can set up 10 to 20 minutes of time just kind of talking about your property. So I always ask about any shade that's on the property, any issues with your roof. We also will ask questions about your electric panel. I know a lot of Lakewood homes are older, and so knowing what type of electric panel you have can play a role in this too, and see if we have to augment anything to make it solar ready. So yeah, that's all I got, and I appreciate you having me on.
Sure, I do have a couple more questions.
Okay.
One is and no one has a crystal ball here, and I totally understand that. Any word on the tax credits and how long they're going to last out?
I'm sorry, you broke up there at the end.
I was asking if you have any insight into tax questions the tax breaks that you get for installing solar and how long they're going to be available.
Well, so right now, at the end of 2015, the current tax law and tax credits were extended. And they extended the tax credit to 30% until the end of 2019. And then this year, it's 26% for 2020. Next year, it's 22% tax credit. And then for homeowners, it goes down to 0. And commercial properties can have a 10% tax credit. So that is how it is currently written. And unfortunately, it's really hard to say what the tax code will be, what Congress will do, what the current administration will do. It's very difficult to gauge that. So as of now, we can only go on how it is currently written, and then just hope and also contact our representatives and say that, this is something that we want and should be investing in, both at the municipal level, the county level, homeowners, and that tax credits are a great way to, add that investment and also add jobs. The Bureau of Labor Statistics says from 2016 to 2026, the number one job in this country is solar installer. And a lot of that is driven by the tax credit. So there's a great argument for extending these credits, and so hopefully something like that will happen down the road.
Great. Thank you so much. Well, we do not have any additional questions. Oh, here we go. We have one from Nancy. She's asking, does your company offer financing?
Yes. Oh, geez. Thank you, Nancy. Yes, we do offer financing. I actually did a webinar this morning on just financing, so I don't know how I forgot to mention that. But yes, we do financing programs, and we have multiple options out there. So, like I said, average system maybe around the $20,000, $25,000, $30,000 mark. Not a lot of people have that to pay outright. And so we can set you up on $0 loans that you pay monthly. There may be a lot of ads out there for no-cost solar, free solar. Well, that's really just meaning 0 down, and you'll start having to pay monthly. And so we can do loans for 10, 15, 20 years, 0 down through one of our partners. They're called Mosaic, and they're a B corporation as well, just like us. So we enjoy working with them. And then there's also our co-founder, Michelle Greenfield. She helped form the Clean Energy Credit Union. So this is a credit union that's based out of Colorado. It's the first of its kind where people can actually put in and open up a savings account, and those deposits are used for clean energy technology. And so they give out solar loans, they give out geothermal loans, electric vehicle, car loans. So it's a great organization, and we can, they have 12 or 15-year loans, or you could do a 12-month and 18-month loan as well. And then there's also traditional bank financing. Some customers come to us with an open line of credit or home equity loans, and that's something a lot of customers use, but that would be more between you and your bank. So good question, Nancy. I think
Great.
for reminding me.
I agree, Nancy. Great question. Thank you. In traditional knowing your home fashion, David, we thank you so much for sharing your time and talent with us tonight, especially in this challenging time for doing a webinar with us. This is our second one, so go team. We made it. We succeeded. Thanks to Ian and David for helping us make this come to fruition. Just want to let you know we do have another workshop coming up on Saturday, April 25th. We have container gardening with Paul from the Garden Center. We already have 60 people signed up. Holy cow, we're so excited. We do have a limit of 100, so if you're interested, please make sure you register for that. You can find that on Facebook or on our website, lakewoodalive.org/knowingyourhome. We'd like to have you join us. And then the following is, you're really lucky, it's going to be me, How to Contract a Repair, and that will be held on Thursday, May 14th. So I hope to join you, or you join me then. So since we don't have any additional questions, I think we're going to end. But thank you all so very, very much, and we hope that you and your families are healthy and safe. Have a great evening. Thank you.